Welcome to the International Thyroid Awareness Week webinar for 2024. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to our global audience logged in for the webinar today for the 16th International Thyroid Awareness Week. My name is Ashok Bhasin, and I'm the president of Thyroid Federation International. Thyroid Federation International launched World Thyroid Day, May 25th, in the early decade of 21st century. This has been embraced by European Thyroid Association, American Thyroid Association, Asia Oceanic Thyroid Association, and Latin America Thyroid Society, and many other endocrine societies and patient organizations concerning thyroid across the world. We also launched International Thyroid Awareness Week, which was originally launched with Merck Germany and subsequently with other partners today. I will now hand over to your host and fellow board member for the introduction to the speakers. Thank you.
Dear professors, doctors, patients, dear members, my name is Dr. Bojana Jedoksic, and I'm a board member of Thyroid Federation International. I'm honored to be your host on today's webinar dedicated to an important topic, thyroid diseases as non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases are a group of chronic diseases not caused by infection. They result in long-term health consequences and create a need for lifelong therapy. NCDs are the #1 cause of death and disability in the world. NCDs are cause of death of over 41 million people per year, and they are a significant financial burden to the healthcare systems worldwide. Between 2011 and 2030, NCDs are projected to cost more than $47 trillion. NCDs dramatically affect the quality of life of patients and their families. And my dear audience and guests and friends, I'm honored to welcome you to today's topic dedicated to International Thyroid Awareness Week topic. I would like to introduce our speaker on today's webinar dedicated to International Thyroid Awareness Week 24. Our speaker is Professor Leilani B. Mercado Assis, Professor and Program Director, Master in Public Health International, Faculty of Medicine and Surgery, University of Santo Tomas, Manila, Philippines. Her topic today will be the thyroid, hypertension, and cardiovascular diseases, and I invite you all to enjoy this presentation, and thank you so much.
Good day to everyone. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. My topic is the thyroid, hypertension, and cardiovascular diseases. My topics are physiology of the thyroid and the cardiovascular system, the thyroid function abnormalities and effect on cardiovascular system, and the function abnormalities and related severe risk factors. The hypothalamus secretes thyrotropin-releasing hormone, which will stimulate the pituitary to secrete thyroid-stimulating hormone, or TSH. The TSH will attach to the receptors in the periphery and will stimulate the secretion of the thyroid hormone T4 and T3. 80% will be circulating, 80% of T4 will be in the circulation and only 20% of T3. However, T4 is a prohormone that will be converted to T3, and T3 is the active form responsible for growth and development, increase in the cellular metabolism. Here is a thyroid hormone regulation of metabolism. There is modulation by nutritional signals, specifically leptin, acting on food intake and energy expenditure. The nutrient status provides feedback on thyroid hormone signaling pathways and crosstalk with the sympathetic nervous system that occurs in the periphery and in the affecting the white and brown fat and centrally in the hypothalamus. The regulation of the thyroid hormone is also important in the metabolism of cholesterol and carbohydrate metabolism. This sympathetic nervous system, specifically the effect of T3 in the liver, will further regulate increase in the lipolysis and decrease in the body fat. In muscles, there is gene regulation of T3 of the myosin and actin genes, and important in the muscle repair and increase in energy expenditure. In the pancreas, there is T3 regulation of beta cell mass and insulin sensitivity, which is important in the suppression of hepatic gluconeogenesis. The thyroid and the cardiovascular system. So I have shown you the metabolic effect of the thyroid hormone. There are equally important non-metabolic effects, specifically on the cardiovascular system. The metabolic effect has bearing on the eventual function of the cardiovascular system and possible abnormalities of the thyroid hormone that will affect all of these functions. Here is the cellular pathways and mechanism of action of T3 on the cardiac muscle, which is important in this discussion. T3 will attach to the cardiomyocyte T3 receptor and regulate some transduction pathway in the nucleus necessary for protein synthesis. And this is the genomic effect of T3, which is important in heart muscle volume and vasculature. The non-genomic effect of T3 is on the cytoplasm, specifically sarcoplasmic reticulum function regulated by different ion channels and expression and action of myosin and actin, which are contractile elements necessary for cardiomyocyte relaxation and contraction. Here is the interaction between the hormones, thyroid hormones, and the cardiovascular system. The involved are the heart, the blood vessel, and the lipid metabolism and inflammatory cytokines. In the heart, the thyroid hormones regulate rate, rhythm, and myocardial contraction, and very important in the development of coronary artery disease. There is effect on lipid metabolism, as discussed earlier, and modulation of inflammatory pathways. There is decrease in lipid metabolism, so that there will be increase in the cholesterol in the circulation and increase inflammatory cytokines that will lead to fibrosis and changes of the endothelium, thus leading to the development of vascular thrombosis. There is regulation of blood pressure via the smooth muscles, tone, and endothelial function. In the untreated hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, there is increase in the carotid intima media and abnormality, specifically in hyperthyroidism, in the dilatation of the endothelium. The endothelial dysfunction and coupled with the abnormal thyroid hormone in the circulation will eventually lead to the development of hypertension. Further, the hypertensive effect of hyperthyroidism are the increased cardiomyocyte contractility, the tachycardia, increased cardiac output, increased aldosterone-mediated water retention, and the ion reabsorption, specifically sodium, and the increase in the venous smooth muscle cell proliferation and endothelial-dependent vasodilation abnormality, and increase in the angiogenesis. All these are important and very significant in the development of hypertension if there is untreated thyroid hormone elevation. So my insight here is the thyroid hormones are important regulators of various metabolism of the body. The genomic and non-genomic effects of thyroid hormones are important to have a normally functioning cardiovascular system. Any alteration in the thyroid hormone levels, whether hypo, hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism will have abnormal multisystemic effect, most importantly, the cardiovascular system. So we'll talk about the effect of the thyroid function abnormalities on the cardiovascular system. So what are the thyroid disorders and effects on the cardiovascular system that will lead to hypertension? In hyperthyroidism, there is increased expression of the beta-1 adrenergic receptor, voltage-gated potassium channel, and increase in the myosin, heavy chain, and sarcoplasmic reticulum ATPase. There is positive chronotropic effect that will increase to development of arrhythmia. The increased cardiac output will lead to increased ventricular mass, feeling, and contractility. In the periphery, systemic vascular changes may show initially vasorelaxation, arterial compliance is increased, and decreased systemic vascular resistance, but eventually there is development of increased arterial stiffness. There is increased renin release, angiotensin aldosterone axis action increased renal sodium absorption, and this will all lead to increased blood volume. How about, and then all of these factors will lead to elevated blood pressure. How about in hypothyroidism? There is decrease in the myosin expression gene, decrease in the beta-1 adrenergic receptor, and atrial natriuretic receptor genes. Negative chronotropic effect, low cardiac output that will lead to low ventricular filling, low cardiac contractility, and decrease in the ventricular diastolic relaxation and filling. In the periphery, there is increased total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and decrease in nitric oxide necessary for endothelial function. So the increased arterial stiffness, increased systemic vascular resistance will eventually lead to atherosclerotic plaque formation. This will lead to elevated blood pressure. There is this entity we call subclinical of thyroid hormone abnormalities. In this setting, the patients are asymptomatic with normal thyroid hormone levels. However, their TSH is elevated in subclinical hypothyroidism and low normal or low in subclinical hyperthyroidism. Are there CV abnormalities in this setting? This is an elegant report by Rasby and colleagues showing that the effect of thyroid's function in cardiovascular risk factors will happen even the problem is overt or subclinical. Here is the comparison of overt hyperthyroidism and subclinical hyperthyroidism versus the hypothyroidism spectrum. In the lipid parameters, there is mild reduction in the lipids, whereas increased in hyper and subclinical hyperthyroidism, whereas increased total cholesterol and LDL are shown in hypothyroidism and subclinical hypothyroidism. Hypertension is systolic in hyperthyroidism while diastolic in hypothyroidism. Again, this happens similarly with overt and subclinical entities. There are both increased arterial stiffness in hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. Thrombogenicity have been demonstrated only in hyperthyroidism. Cardiac function and unclear in hypothyroidism. As far as cardiac function is concerned, there is increased LV mass and atrial size in hyperthyroidism, and there is both LV systolic and diastolic dysfunction, both at rest and exercise in hypothyroidism. Thrombogenicity is unclear in hypothyroidism, but there is a report showing a patient that who developed thrombus, and the thrombus formation is significantly big and greater in size compared with thrombus shown in a subject with euthyroidism. What is the role of thyroid hormones in the pathophysiology of heart failure? In the increased thyroid hormone circulating in the system, the heart will have an increased workload. This increased workload will eventually result into decreased myocardial function and reduce its cardiac output. The reduced cardiac output will stimulate the renin-angiotensin system. The renin will stimulate the production of aldosterone and increase renal sodium absorption. There is also reduced renal blood flow and reduced GFR. These changes will lead to increased venous return and aggravate the increased workload of the heart. Further, the myocardial dysfunction will increase the sympathetic activity and that will lead to vasoconstriction and will affect further the workload of the heart. Is there a difference between congestive heart failure shown development in short versus long-term hyperthyroidism? Here is a comparison of the mechanistic effects of duration of hyperthyroidism on the evolution of heart failure. Initially, at the outset of hyperthyroidism, there is increased blood volume, improved diastolic relaxation that will increase left ventricular and diastolic volume, and systemic vascular relaxation. This will increase stroke volume and increase heart rate that will increase cardiac output. At this stage, the patients do not have heart failure, but in untreated hyperthyroidism, because of the long-standing increased cardiac workload and development of left ventricular mass, there will be impaired relaxation, specifically on the peripheral side, increased atrial size, increased arterial stiffness. All of this will lead to the increase in the development of atrial fibrillation, heart failure, coronary heart disease, and stroke. How about thyroid cancer? Thyroid cancer treatment is the one that is affecting the cardiovascular system. In radioactive iodine refractory differentiated thyroid cancer, they are not treated well only with surgery and radioactive iodine. They need to be treated with tyrosine kinase inhibitors. Large number of patients have been reported to experience hypertension as an adverse effect of this treatment. You know, this treatment, like lenvatinib, inhibits angiogenesis, and thereby the objective is to control tumor growth and metastases. With TKI treatment, there is vasoconstriction, there is reduced angiogenesis. These two development will lead to hypertension in patients with TKI treatment. So the insight here is the thyroid-mediated orchestration of cardiac contractility, vascular tone, and renal homeostasis confers to the vital role of thyroid function in the pathophysiology of hypertension and other related cardiovascular diseases. The spectrum of hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, from clinical to overt, pose the challenge for awareness, early diagnosis, and timely management to prevent irreversible cardiac complications. So let's move on to thyroid function abnormalities and related cardiovascular risk factors. In metabolic syndrome, part of the entities are visceral obesity, dyslipidemia, type 2 diabetes, and hypertension. All these pathologic risk factors will lead to cardiovascular disease. And you know that in uncontrolled thyroid hormone abnormalities, patients develop obesity, dyslipidemia, and hypertension. But what happens in these patients? Thyroid hormone sensitivity, thyroid hormone status, as far as sensitivity to the thyroid hormone is concerned. So this group studied over 1,000 adults during the survey, enhanced survey from 2007 to 2008. There are 3 thyroid hormone resistance indices were used in the study, and the parameters were glycosylated hemoglobin, diabetes-related deaths, and metabolic syndrome. In their survey, thyroid hormone resistance was highest among the old subjects, and lowest among the Black subjects. Although there is negative correlation of the variables in this study, it was evident that diabetes-related mortality increases with increase in thyroid hormone resistance, increasing the number of deaths per 100,000 person years. The TFQI index linearly associated, as shown in the other slide, was linearly associated with diabetes-related death at 0.015 significantly, and this association remained statistically significant even after adjustment for BMI at 0.035. All the resistance to thyroid hormone indices were associated with metabolic syndrome entities like diabetes, waist circumference, HDL, blood pressure, and glycemic criteria. So the conclusion of this study the conclusions are higher values in indices of resistance to thyroid hormone are associated with obesity, metabolic syndrome, and diabetes. Higher values are also associated with diabetes-related mortality, which are independent of obesity. So the last question that we would like to address is the reversibility of the cardiovascular dysfunction after thyroid hormone normalization. Here is an elegant study by Muthu Kumar and his colleagues of 41 subjects, adult subjects who were diagnosed with Graves' disease and multinodular toxic goiter and were treated with total thyroidectomy. The parameters used to assess the cardiovascular function are 2D echocardiogram, and the parameter for CSF marker for congestive heart failure marker, which is NT-proBNP. These were tested at diagnosis during antithyroid treatment and 3 months after surgery. Here are the results. You can see that in this table, the CVD improved with treatment with antithyroid drug and further improved with thyroid surgery. The CVD abnormalities like pulmonary hypertension, dilated cardiomyopathy, heart failure, and elevated NT-proBNP improved with antithyroid treatment, placing the patient in the euthyroid state, and further improved with total thyroidectomy. So in this study, they have shown that pulmonary hypertension is the most common CVD abnormality. The various parameters improve consistently after surgical cure, and proBNP is a good marker for prognosis. So my overall summary and insights are as follows. The thyroid hormones regulate various bodily, systemic, metabolic, and non-metabolic functions, most importantly, the cardiovascular system. The abnormalities in the thyroid hormone levels, whether overt or subclinical, will lead to cardiovascular adverse events like hypertension, arrhythmia, coronary heart disease, and heart failure. The physiologic metabolic effect of thyroid hormones is altered in patients with metabolic syndrome, and patients have been shown to develop thyroid hormone resistance. Hypertension and the other cardiovascular adverse effects of thyroid hormone abnormalities have shown to be alleviated or resolved with normalization of circulating thyroid hormone levels. Therefore, it is imperative that increased awareness, early diagnosis, and timely management of thyroid hormone abnormalities must be instituted as preventive measures for long-term debilitating cardiovascular adverse events. This is my last slide. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Leilani, for this wonderful presentation. And thank you to our sponsors and supporters, Merck, Exelixis, Amgen, IPSA, Immunovant, and Viridian. Thank you all for your attention, for supporting, and see you next year at International Thyroid Awareness Week 2025. Thank you.